What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are at Impulse Offroad and we're doing something super awesome today, something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So just kind of give you a breakdown of what we're doing today. So we're going to be installing a full auxiliary battery setup courtesy of Renogy solar, and so we're getting everything laid out right now. We got our schematic pulled up, just trying to follow along and figure out the best way to get everything done. Yeah, should be a pretty awesome setup once everything is in place. And I'm just kind of relying on the guys that work here as the experts here, because I don't really know what I'm doing, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to learn, and it's going to be a good time. So follow along, guys. It's going to be awesome. Here is the wiring diagram courtesy of the engineers at Renogy. This lists everything that I would need to do to get everything working correctly, and should hopefully be pretty easy. First up, Remy and I dropped in the heart of the system, two 200 amp hour lithium batteries, one going behind the driver's seat and the other behind the passenger seat. This setup keeps the weight balanced and secure while giving us easy access for wiring, monitoring, and expansion down the road. While Remy and I worked on getting the batteries installed, Gavin got to work on mounting the major components. First up, the inverter, then the DC to DC charger, and finally the combiner box. We're mounting everything with room to breathe, as heat's a killer when you're putting real power through the system, so layout and airflow really matter. Now we're wiring up the DC to DC charger. This is what handles the charging of the lithium batteries safely off the alternator and from solar. We've got 4 main connections here, each one color coded for clarity. The black one that you see here is the ground cable, and that's going to go into our combiner box. The red is going to be the input from our starter battery. This is where we pull all the power while the engine is running. Yellow is going to be our positive solar input. We'll connect this later to the panel up top, so we're charging everything while we've got sunlight. And then brown cable is going to be our output to the lithium bank. This is what actually feeds our house batteries once a DC to DC decides it's safe to send power. We'll fuse each of these lines properly and make sure everything's tight and clean before we power it up. Since we've got the solar input connected to the yellow wire on the DC to DC charger, the positive side of the solar array is handled, but we still need a clean path for the negative side. So we're routing the negatives straight to the negative bus on the combiner box. This makes sure the charger sees a complete circuit and keeps all the ground centralized, which is key for safety and system health, especially when you've got multiple power sources feeding your batteries. Everything is going to be tied back to the same grounding system, and it keeps monitoring and charge regulation consistent. With solar handled, next we're wiring up the inverter. This is what turns our battery power into 120 volts, perfect for tools, laptops, or even running the coffee setup at camp. Brown is going to go to the negative bus on the combiner box, and power is going to run to the positive bus. Simple, solid, and fused to protect both the inverter and the rest of the system. Cable management is a big deal here. These cables are carrying a serious current, so we want to keep them tidy, secure, and away from anything that might chafe or rub. I like using zip ties. That makes it nice and easy to keep the cables secure and connected to each other to make them easy to route. Now things are really starting to come together. We've got most of the core system wired up. Solar, inverter, charger, batteries, and the combiner box are all in place. To power our accessories, we've added a dedicated low power bus, which is perfect for things that don't pull a ton of current, but still need reliable power. We'll be running our system monitor, our Garmin InReach, ice cover refrigerator, and Midland radio off this bus. Essential gear when you're off-grid and need your setup to just work. This keeps the high-draw stuff separate from the essentials and makes it easy to troubleshoot or upgrade later without tearing everything apart. Alright, this is one of the things I almost forgot, but it's absolutely essential. A solid ground wire back to the starter battery. This ties the house system and the vehicle's electrical system together, creating a common ground. Without it, the DC to DC charger, inverter, and even the monitor might act weird or not work at all. We ran a 10 gauge wire back to the starter battery's negative terminal and secured it. Make sure not to skip this step. It's the kind of thing that will drive you nuts if you miss it. Alright, time to add our first accessory to the system, the Renogy 1. This is the brain of the setup. It monitors battery levels, solar input, inverter status, and alerts me if anything's out of spec. It's super helpful to have a centralized view of how the system's performing, especially when you're out on a long trip and you need to adjust your gear. I haven't picked my final mounting spot yet, but I've got a few ideas. I want it somewhere easy to see, but not in the way. For now, we've got it powered up, connected, and it's already giving us real-time data. We'll dial in the mounting later once the rest of the interior is wrapped up. Alright, time to button everything up. The last thing on the list is connecting the voltage monitoring cables to the lid of the combiner box. These cables power a set of LEDs on the outside of the box, which gives me a quick visual on the system voltage, so if something's off, I'll know right away. It's a tight squeeze to get the connector in there, but once it's locked in, the lid goes on smooth and everything is sealed and protected. Little things like this make a big difference out on the trail, quick checks, peace of mind, and a cleaner system overall.
Guys, good morning. It's now Tuesday morning and we are home. Everything as far as discharging with the system has been working fine. Although when I went to go start the car yesterday leaving the shop, I noticed that I was not getting any alternator charging or solar charging. So I reached out to Renogy, asked them what might be the issue, and just based on a couple screenshots that I sent to them, turns out my solar panel wiring, I have them wired in series, so that is increasing the voltage across the setup, so it's putting it over voltage, and that's why we're getting that over voltage warning. So they told me to just go ahead and disconnect the solar for now. I'm thinking that we're probably going to have to wire them in parallel, because that doesn't increase the voltage, it just will increase the amperage. I don't know what the limit on amperage is, but we'll see. So I'm just out here in the truck right now, getting ready to go to work. I'm just going to disconnect the solar right now, and we'll see if that allows it to alternator charge, because it wasn't alternator charging yesterday. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then once we're in the car, we'll take a look again. So I'll show you what we're kind of dealing with. Just kind of threw my tools in here yesterday. So right here is my solar fuse, so I'm just going to disconnect it and pop a wire off. So yeah, that will be what we're going to do right now. So alright, so we disconnected this is our solar in right here. You can see that. Disconnected our solar in, so I'm just going to leave it right now. So now that circuit is broken, so you shouldn't be getting any solar input. Still don't know why that red light is flashing. It should be yellow. It looks like it's flashing yellow on the screen, but it's flashing red, and that's not what we want. So I don't know, we'll figure it out. It's kind of above my knowledge base at this point, so anyway, I gotta go to work, so we'll check back in later, see if they respond, and then we'll get it all fixed and taken care of. Alright guys, so I just got home from work, and after thinking about it a little bit throughout the day, I've got some stuff plugged back in, except for the solar like we talked about earlier. So we still have that disconnected, but I've got my combiner box hooked back, all hooked back up. So that's this guy right here. So if you look here, we've got our battery type blue. That's correct because we have lithium. The yellow battery light means that we're at like mid-level voltage, so it's not full, but it's not empty either. And then red, we've got our alternator charge, and then we do have our solar light here. So the solar light's off right now because we're doing alternator charging. And then come over here to my app. Oops. Come over to the app, and right now we're connected to Bluetooth. So I've got the truck running, obviously. So we can see here our two batteries. They're both being charged.
This is our combiner box here, and then our DC to DC charger, so I can actually see. Engine is charging both of the batteries. If you look here, our auxiliary battery charge amps is about 30, and our auxiliary battery charging watts is about 400. So that's really good. And then if I come back to my main screen, I can actually see here, total will be fully charged in 8 hours and 16 minutes, and then how much charging watts we're actually doing right now, just about 400. So pretty stoked about that. I'm gonna go ahead and re-zip tie some things back up over here and clean it up a little bit more. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. Looks like we just need to finish getting our solar situated, and then we'll have a fully functioning system, which I am super pumped about. Yeah, so big news here. We got some stuff figured out. Everything is working right. So let me just look at our monitoring system here. It should be the same as what our phone app is saying. Let's see. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to figure out how this thing still works, because I think it needs to be connected to Wi-Fi to work, because this isn't updating the way the app was. So let's see. It is connected to my network at home. Yes, I'm not sure why it's not really updating, but we'll still need to figure that out. But yeah, so the app is showing that we're charging, which is awesome. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Pretty sweet stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna clean up a little bit more. Alright guys, so it has been a week and a half, couple weeks since I got everything installed. Last time we left off, we had figured out the alternator charging, but we were still having issues with our solar charging. The fix to that was changing our wiring for our solar panels and putting that from series into parallel. So I'll put a diagram of how to do that up on the screen, but if you guys want to take a look at and see how everything looks on top of the truck, I'll go ahead and flip the camera around. So over here, this is how we have everything wired up. Just a little bit more cumbersome with how the wiring works for parallel, but I just bought some connectors off Amazon. I'll show you what those are. They're like they look almost like a crow's foot. So these guys, one for a negative and one for a positive, and then everything just kind of connects in, and then everything runs down into the truck like we had before. So that's the main difference there. And I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like on the inside. So we open the truck, and you can see that our solar light is on, which is totally awesome. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the solar. Everything is working out, and everything has been pretty much at 100%. Obviously overnight it discharges a little bit because I have things running off of it, but during the day, driving to work, staying at work and letting the solar panels charge up, and then driving home, it stays at 100% pretty much all day. So pretty pumped about that. And then let me show you guys the little monitoring system that I had troubles with last time we were here. Let's flip the camera again. So I have it just kind of right here for right now. I don't have a mount for it yet, but you can see right now we're discharging at 1 amp. We have about 9 days remaining, and then we're still at 100%. So that's pretty awesome. And that's really all I use this for, just to kind of check on it so I don't have to have the app open all the time. So that makes it pretty cool.
And then obviously, since we have all this power, we got to do something with it. So I've added some accessories, and I'll go ahead and show you guys exactly what those are. I'm pretty pumped about them. They are pretty easy to install, and everything is working the way that I wanted it to. So here is our 12-volt bus, and as you can see, I've got about 4 things running off of it right now. And then up here is our our inverter. I've got 3 things plugged into it, fully maxing that out. The main thing the things that are plugged into it are actually just extension cables that are flush mount 110 volts outlets. So I've got one up here. I've got one spare here. I actually have one that routes all the way to the back, so I can have power to the back of the truck when I have the lift gate open. And then the last one that I have is up here. Let me move some stuff out of the way. So this is another one that I have plugged in. So it's got 3 110s, a couple USB-A's, and then a USB-C. And this is where I made my charging station. So I've got a little Pelican case, so I can charge on my drone batteries, my drone controller, and I've got extra cables back there. And then I keep my drone in here, along with my extra lens for my camera. And everything is nice and secure, and then I just kind of stick my camera right in there like that, and it's pretty sturdy, and it doesn't really get squished or anything, so I'm not too worried about it getting broken there. And then as far as 12-volt accessories, let's talk about that. We've got, like I said, 4 things running off of it. So the main thing, the first thing that we have running off of it is our little Renogy 1 home monitoring system that I showed you guys a little bit ago. The next thing that we have is our Garmin InReach, fully wired in. You can actually see on the screen that it is running off of power instead of its own battery system. So the one I bought, the orange one, is the Marine one. So it comes with a hard wire for people that are using boats and stuff like that. So I hardwired that in to the 12-volt bus, and then a couple other things. We wired in this setup here. Has USBs, 2 USB-Cs and 1 USB-A, I believe. Obviously got the cigarette outlet for our refrigerator, so this is what our refrigerator is running off of, and then I can actually turn it on and off if I need to, and then you can actually see the voltage there as well, which is pretty sweet. And then the last thing that we added for right now is this cigarette outlet. So this will be what we use to run our diesel heater when we do need that, because it runs off of a 12-volt outlet like that, and I usually mount my diesel heater to that window there. So yeah, haven't tested that out yet, but I did test it with a refrigerator, so I know that that is working. And then my plan is to rewire my Midland radio to run off of the 12-volt bus instead of running off of the truck when it's just running, because right now when I turn the truck off, my radio turns off. But having it connected to the bus will allow me to keep the radio on even when the truck is off, which would be pretty sweet, especially if you're doing large groups that are meeting up at different times. Keeping a long-range radio on like this guy, this thing is pretty sweet. Like it has such a crazy range to it. So having that on there would be awesome. And that's pretty much it. My plan is to add an induction cooktop. That's why I routed that 110 outlet to the back of the truck. And then my plan is also to add a Starlink as well. Haven't got to that far yet, but those are the plans that I have, and that's kind of why I went with such a high amp hour setup of 400 amp hours to be able to run that induction cooktop, and that way you don't have to rely as much on propane, especially in the cold months and at high altitude. It can be a little difficult sometimes. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Everything has been working fantastic, and I am super pumped to get out there and properly test out this setup
This weekend is Easter Jeep Safari, and so we're going to be going down to Moab and really giving this rig a test, or at least the new Renogy setup a test, and giving the 38s a proper Moab break-in, because they haven't really had that yet. So yeah, we're going to be camping Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and coming back Monday. So that's 3 days of testing out the setup, making sure everything is working right, and I'm super pumped to kind of push this setup as much as we can and really see how good it is. So from what I can tell so far, it's pretty epic, and should be sweet. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos about that on Instagram and YouTube for the whole adventure, so be sure to stay tuned and check that out when those come out. Well guys, I think that is going to do it for this video. I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. If you guys are planning on doing an install like this of your own or something similar, Renogy has been awesome to work with. They've been super helpful, answering all the questions I have and being quick to respond to the issues that I had with the solar panels and overcharging and that kind of thing. So really thankful for that. And yeah, if you have any questions about this, feel free to send me a message on here on YouTube or DM me on Instagram, and I'd be happy to chat with you about anything that I can and help you out as best I can. But I think that'll do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. We do lots of cool install videos like this, but also lots of adventure videos. So if you haven't checked out those, be sure to definitely do that because they are awesome. But yeah, stay tuned for more epic stuff. We'll see you guys.